So it's 7 o'clock. And so we have all our voting members.
No.
Everybody get to review the minutes? Comments, edits? We'll approve them as submitted. Treasurer's report.
We brought an interest of $1,482.03, bringing the balance up to $546,071.23. And I'll get this out of the way now, I guess.
Kind of rate it, where's
Yeah,
the
I suppose.
where's the money at Vanguard or, but
It's in the account with the town.
town, what kind of interest do we get?
We just, like this past month, we got almost $1,500.
Johnny wants to know the rate.
Oh,
You can
I'm not gonna do account.
Not much, right?
No, but no one's paying green interest.
Yeah.
Well, yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Hell, yeah. I mean, you get 5.5% right now.
Right.
Yeah, if
Your
you're,
bank.
if it depends on like what you wanted. I gotta put it where the town puts it.
Yeah.
I got no choice.
Get a choice.
And it's,
Yeah, you get the choice.
if it's done,
Okay. Yeah, one.
like, this, we got a bill, we pay it every year. This was like the same as last year. It's for the National New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions. And we're a member, and they keep us up to date and stuff, and they watch the laws and the rules. So we don't have to, $525. Make a motion, we pay the bill to the NHACC for $525.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. I guess while we're on that subject, though, I'll mention, did everybody get the NHACC annual meeting? Notice, pass it around.
If
One
you
person,
did-
anyone on?
It's,
Did you get it?
November.
Yeah,
Did you get it? We need,
Yeah, maybe we need to update.
the chair should probably update them on who our members are.
I think there's email traffic on it that I can share with them. Because I'm saving it because I wanted to ask
It's
the
the
question.
turtle guy. He's famous for, must be in his
All right.
late 70s, if not 80s. I don't know. I saw him. Dave Carroll. Yeah, he's the keynote speaker. So
Uh-huh.
if you want to learn more about Blanding's turtles and other turtles, he's pretty amazing. I caught this talk 15 years ago or something. I don't know, have we paid for folks to go previously, or is it on your own?
We should.
'Cause it's like $60
Yeah,
early,
Yeah, we
remember.
we should pay.
So
If anybody wants to go, we should authorize it.
Is it?
November 4th. It's at Pembroke Academy,
Pembroke.
and they got,
Canada.
so they got, if I remember the agenda, the link, it's, meeting and login and all that, and they got a keynote speaker. I mean, they come up and speak about business and
Yeah,
stuff in general.
this lists all the workshops, actually. There's some interesting,
Workshops.
one on beavers and one on water, climate, and resilience, stuff like that, so.
I'm gonna start next city that day.
Okay.
Anybody interested in going? I've been to Pembroke. It's not that great a ride.
Yeah. Actually,
I might go.
yeah. I might too.
I just sent you both the email if you want
Oh,
Okay.
to go further, but if you're in Quebec City, it's you're a no.
Okay, at the Chair Emeritus's request, we'll move some old business to new business, so
Appreciate
he
it.
doesn't have to be here all night. So Ms. Richardson Pond is what you asked about.
Yeah, so I think you were on that email too. Honor. The backdrop is that the select board, we're talking about putting a item on the warrant that would involve shared costs for the Richardson. And I forget the number, I think it might have been $200,000 for the
Yeah.
town's portion. Then Conservation Commission paying the other. It wasn't clear, 25%, 40%, some,
Yeah.
There were two different splits that were.
Yeah,
one
60,
was
40
60,
and 70.
Yeah.
Well, we don't really have a number that we can bank on.
Yeah, that's the
right
thing.
now.
We
We don't
don't
even
really
know
know.
what the scope of the project is.
my understanding in the email from Connor is that the ABC, the budget advisory budget committee would like to know why the Conservation Commission doesn't just spring for the whole thing. And so they'd like somebody to come and talk about it, and I raised my hand. I'm happy to go talk with them about it and tell them why. And try to persuade them that it's in their interest to be supportive of it because, you know, the alternative isn't very good. I mean, we don't have to put one nickel into that. But who wants to have a big fight?
Yeah.
But
We can certainly afford to do 25 to 40%.
to do something which and I want an understanding in this room on that. We're willing to negotiate on the number. And after I talk to them, if they propose a number, other than the number that was up there, I come back here, we talk about it. But pay for the whole thing. I would like to be able to say that the commission would probably not be comfortable authorizing paying for the whole thing because our core responsibility with all that money is to conserve land. And every time we get a big check, it's because a lot of open space land is gone. And if we're going to preserve some because we want to live in a place with trees and we like wildlife, we like walks in the woods, and we want a place where water can go and you know, when we get extreme weather events and for all sorts of reasons. And most importantly, we think the town supports having a lot of good conservation land. And we would bank on it. That's kind of the kind of thing I would say.
We also got the fact that they put money into the Swains dam.
Yeah, I mean, they have a whole line item, capital reserve.
Yeah, that's. I won't go there unless they do.
Well, I'm saying it as a backup.
Yeah.
Do you need, and you probably don't want to tell them how much money we have, because that'll only make them want us to spend.
Well, I think they
Well,
probably.
It's.
Yeah, it's not like.
Public record.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have to know how much money we have.
But,
And it's the fact that we don't have a lot, you know, it sounds like a lot.
It sounds like a lot,
But we've already committed.
But I can send you that number and then the commitments we have.
well, I was gonna say, would it be reasonable to say that we should come up with perhaps a dollar amount that we're willing to put in? Because we don't know the cost of the damn project. And along with that, we can say, have some idea of what we would like to use the funds for. Because I know they hate us having a lot of money.
Who is
No,
they?
no.
Well,
The
it
fiscal
used to
conservative
be- it
people in
used to
Central.
be The planning board.
It's not the planning board. It's not the way, it's not the select
Wouldn't
board.
they-
The ABC.
Who is proposing that we pay for the whole thing?
Some members of the advisory budget.
Okay.
And if a warrant goes up and they squash it, you know, 0.005, then anything we're asking for in March will get killed. So we kind of have to work with them. If we want to, whether it's going to put a hard number to the town to say they're going to chip in 200 and we get the rest, and we just got to hope that the scope of the project doesn't bankrupt us.
All I want to settle when I meet with them on Tuesday is that pay for all of it is a non-story. To ask the commission to pay for all of it is a non-story. You know,
And we don't,
willing to talk about something, but we need to spend more time with it. Probably, I would ask for the town administrator to help strategize in that respect, because she's good at that kind of thing. But, and I don't know the personnel is on on that.
See,
On that mission, and, I think, and so I guess I don't even want to go into it. It's probably
Right,
not,
it doesn't
not important, but
We haven't written the check to for the $100,000.
No,
That deduct that from our total, we're down to.
and I thought when the Layton thing came up, I mean, I thought it was unfortunate that our neighbor in Stratford, they were a nice check,
times what
and
we did.
thanks to Doug, we at least chipped in 50 cents. It's $10,000, 50 cents.
And actually, we have another,
It would have been fair to make a,
we have another possible one. Salt is looking for
yeah.
some funds, and the Doug's it, I'll bring it up later again. But,
And
you know, the point is, we need to have some.
Yeah,
funds.
there's potentially the pieces of land above.
there's Cardi Price's house is
Yeah.
one of the people.
So,
sure,
He's very conservative and has regularly run for
I
seats.
understand that. And
Which you might get, I think a lot of support probably from Danny.
it always Dan, to be honest, with Dan and I, who sat in a smoke-filled room and talked about this almost 2 years ago.
yeah, but isn't he the
It wasn't
select
really,
board rep?
He's the, he's the
yeah,
executive.
he was there.
No, but he can,
Oh, yeah.
if he's there to help
Yeah,
the conversation, but I just know the first name when I opened it up and I saw a house, I went, where's
well,
Park?
he's one vote.
I know,
He's
but he's willing, he talks.
He's got a big mouth.
See the other names?
Scott Shepard?
Yeah, so I was thinking
Yeah.
Scott, he's still on.
Scott.
Yeah,
I know him and I'm friends, but I don't know his politics on. You know,
So anyhow,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say I'm willing to do that.
Mhm.
I want to point out that we don't want to make it into a fight. We don't want to make it you
No.
against us.
Well,
We're all in the
it's
same
funny
team.
where
We're in this town. You know, we like what we're doing and we want to be able to. And that's,
I like Paul's idea of saying number that we do rather than a percent, because we don't know what the whole damn will cost.
I think Paul's right and you're right to
have it in my
support that.
pocket.
I just don't think
This is the time.
that I should be saying that on behalf
Yeah.
of all of us. If they bring it up, I'll say, I'll bring that back.
well, can we just talk about ballpark figures? I mean, just so they know it's not zero, you know, we're
Yeah.
willing to put in something.
We're
You
substantial,
know, yeah,
to make a substantial contribution. But we don't want to. So that's really all I
yeah. So,
get out of the city.
sure. Connor mentioned several dates. I mean, Tuesday is the first one.
I
Sooner than.
don't want it floating around in my brain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
And,
so if you-
and I know, and there wasn't a time for it. Was there?
Well, no, I don't know. They must have regular.
It's right up
schedule.
there. So those were the dates. I don't think.
gave the time.
No.
It didn't give us time, and I know that the planning board is gonna meet
Yeah.
that night and talk some more about Young Road. And if you want to talk about that for Young Road for a bit, or
We could, if you want to be in on it, I mean, it's on the agenda.
it's on, well, since John Wallace and I had an exchange,
Right.
They meet at 4:30,
who the,
4:30.
ABC.
oh, sure, I could be at both, I could have
I'm
fun,
just checking the other.
I can-
I assistant.
It'd be tough for me.
but,
It's just a bad day for me.
so,
Because
So-
we meet here.
so John sent, so Mark Brouch, who's an abutter to the Young Road project, found out that the developers submitted new materials to the planning board in response to the planning board's issues. And I have to admit, I didn't read what he said word for word. It was, my daughter has taught me how to say TLDR. too long didn't read. But I looked at it
Not right.
and, you know, Chris Berry, as we know, is very thorough, a very competent engineer, and responded in detail and came back full circle to the point of, this is it, did it right, now just give us the permit.
Did they change any of the plan?
Well, they added stuff. I looked at the report. It's, you know,
They
the
had
plan. I mean,
information.
they amended it back in August, I think. And I don't know if they formally submitted, because I don't even know if the plan board has met since August. Maybe they must have met in September, but I know it seemed like they were continuing it, or, you know. They weren't.
Any change in the number of lots?
No.
Okay.
There's really no, but what they did do is a environmental assessment and a drainage. If you have that email, I mean,
What do you,
Anybody
oh,
wants
the
to
one you
look at
just sent?
yeah, that one I sent had the list. So there's, you know, a couple different reports, I guess, maybe three, that the planning board requested of them. And so that's what they've been doing, I guess, in
This
the
one?
intervening time. Yeah. Yeah, so like I said, the revised plan, yeah, it's that list of,
Oh.
you know, so you see a drainage report, environmental report. But otherwise, yeah, it's still 23 units, still in the same
So,
spot.
so
you know.
they met the requirements of the list that the planning board told them they had to do, and now they want to move forward with exactly what they had.
Yeah, and I don't know, since we didn't get a notice about it, I'm not sure when this was made available, and if the
And I-
planning board is gonna act right away, or.
And I think it's still a work session.
Yeah.
But in any case, John Wallace was copied on that. It went from Mark to John Wallace, Doug Woken and me. And John at first said, well, I'll read it later. Then he read it later. And he went into the kind of generalized things that we would have liked to have talked about, and other people at those early meetings talked about. You know, that the town is committed to protecting natural resources, that it's in the master plan. And he even mentioned that there's mention of vernal pools, and that the science shows that some vernal pools need 500 feet of buffer. Well, as we know from dealing with these things, that, you know, the planning board doesn't touch those kinds of general things. And I had to gently tell John that, which kind of surprised me, because John is, I'm not emeritus, he's the emeritus, he's the king of
Yeah.
the history of the Conservation Commission. That they weren't going to go in that direction, that the developer says so, the engineer says so, and importantly, the lawyer says so. And I don't think I don't think the planning board of the town of Barrington is going to litigate on those things. And then I added both to Mark Brouch and to John Wallace, what I'm running around with, like my head's been cut off talking about, is that the planning board really needs another. Really desperately. They're canceling meetings for no, you know, not having a quorum. And that's happened like 3 times.
Well, I think I told you guys, they hit on me at the March elections. That's why I brought it to you guys, if anybody was interested.
Yeah.
I need another board like I need a third in.
Right.
You know anybody?
Well, there was a former member who just got out on the technicality that they got to take his
Steve.
request, Steve Diamond.
Yeah, no, I
Wants to be back on.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know if he does. I mentioned, no, John Driscoll says he would love to have Steve Diamond on.
Yeah,
Actually,
well,
that's a quote.
yeah, well, a related subject though is that, and also John Wallace brought up, was that we might be able to enlist the help of the Regional Planning Commission, Stratford Regional Planning Commission, and we do have a couple of friends on, and one of them being Steve Diamond. And he's actually on, and the question is whether we could get a designation of a regional impact for this development, seeing as it's in the watershed of the greater Portsmouth area, you know, which includes, I think, Dover as well, you know, Bellamy Reservoir, and that, you know, that would maybe slow things down a bit more or get them to look at some of these other issues. I know it was done with the, I think it was the industrial park plan, down 125, that seems to have died a slow death, or at least.
You're right, I
But-
did say that, I kind of glossed over that
Yeah.
myself, but.
So anyway,
So
I
we-
thought I'd see, get in touch with Steve and see what.
Yeah,
he-
the other, you know who the other person is who
Yeah,
from town also. Well, I also floated to John Driscoll as a potential member of the planning board.
Hmm.
And John said, I'd love to have Matt down.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's,
Matt was my-
but he was willing to do the regional. I mean,
he
I
was
don't know
willing
if
to do
that's
the
a big-
regional.
So anyway, we have a couple people on the commission. that Probably go to bat for us, so
That probably has to happen pretty quickly, right?
that's what I was wondering. John,
It's
kind of too little, too late.
it's a phone call,
Yeah,
and that would, and back up if there's anything, if it has any life to it.
mhm. But do us folks, I don't know if we need a motion, but do you all agree that that's something worth pursuing or? Glad to,
I would say it's worth a phone call.
yeah.
I don't know whether it'll go anywhere.
I mean, the thing that on that map, these diagrams he's got there is that it's the topographical, and I was driving by there today and I slowed down a little bit and no traffic and looked over and like, God, they're gonna come in and clear everything and all that soil's gonna run down in the pond.
Mhm.
And they said, everything's being held
Oh, but
together
they have
now.
a drainage plan. They're gonna put up, you know.
They're gonna put up some hay
bales.
bales.
Yeah, I mean, it was standard stuff.
I think it's the sense of the committee that this is contrary to, you know, the ethics, if you will, of what the town would like to see. We don't legally have what appears to be any recourse, but anything that we can do that would be legal, I would like to see done. And I don't know if that's the sense of the committee, but it certainly is my sense.
Mhm.
No, that's fair. I just wouldn't hold out a lot of hope.
No,
No, but, you know, I figure that-
But to make a phone
That's
call
true, yeah.
to Steve or Matt and say, you want to look into this? Sure.
I remember you brought up something once about the fact that as a conservation subdivision, it was supposed to be such that they would be clustered in a small area and be not hardly visible from the road. Is saying that violates the.
they're all recommendations.
That's not a rule.
Okay, I just wondering where,
That's a
because I'm thinking it would be really nice if we could stand on a firm rock and not a wobbly one in the middle of a stream, because that's what we're kind of on.
This is,
Trying to get.
yeah, this wobbles like crazy.
But aren't there some rules for vernal pools? Don't they have 100 foot? Is that just
They-
suggested or is that a real?
Yeah, but not 500.
No, I mean, 500.
That's where John was.
Way too far, but 100 would make a difference.
I'm pretty sure that Chris Berry got the distances right. In terms of-
But they didn't identify vernal pools. That's what John was raising. I mean, I read it. It says we did not do an analysis of the vernal pools, but we suspect there are some. And if you go to the, just the environmental assessment, scroll all the way down to the bottom, basically. You know, it's in the appendix. Sorry.
So when the planning board asked all these questions, they didn't ask the developer to look for vernal pools?
I guess not.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe they did, and didn't get to it, but anyway, it seems like a reasonable request.
Am I past it?
No, it's,
It's all the way. down.
actually, I'm not sure. It's just this
the
is the plan,
site
right?
Distance plan.
no, that's the wrong plan. Sorry, go
Oh.
back to that list.
Okay.
That's, it's the environmental assessment, which is,
Was it the impact?
yeah, that one, yeah,
Okay.
and then go down to the bottom, close, it's the third one, it's the appendices.
Oh. Hang on, let me go up to the.
But anyway, they have a series of photos. Hopefully we'll get to them, and they show, pretty good sized pools. Now, whether that, is a vernal pool, the photos were taken in August, so maybe that doesn't make them vernal, but anyway, the point is there is significant water there. And these are in the small wetlands, not the big one. Yeah, that map. Yeah, so this is wetland A. If you happen to go through the report, they have A, B, D, and the big one is C. And I guess includes that. But wetland A is where they said we suspect there are vernal pools, but we didn't study it. And then in wetland B, they show some pond-like, images as well. So it seemed like that's
And is that
reasonable
line
request.
around A, the 50 feet?
Yeah, this is the 50 feet. And if you made it 100 feet, now if you scroll down to the last diagram. Yeah. Now this is flipped upside down, but this is more what you usually think of. Okay, so this is that wetland A, and this is the 50 feet, and this is lot 23. Okay, which seemed kind of screwy to begin with, but if you made that 100 feet, it would clearly disappear. That, yeah, it would be the whole shebang. Yeah, so at least that's worth.
So
Asking about
is
it.
this what study should have identified vernal pools? It seems like they asked for everything they could. Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what you'd think an assessment would. But,
How about the fact that upstream, there's a big beaver dam that reached less than 2
Yeah,
years ago, and it's not
right.
fully, if it goes again,
right.
those backyards could get.
Well, they'll
wet.
claim in the drainage report, they claim this has no impact on any of that because this is upland of that. Obviously, worst case, 100-year flood. I mean, they do give some numbers if you want to know what the 100-year flood level. Actually, I don't think they measured it for that one. They measured it for this one. But they're claiming anyway that there'll be zero impact on.
In 100-year plus?
Yeah, I assume they're saying worst case scenario.
What are the requirements on setbacks from vernal pools? Is it 100 feet?
Well, I know they did designate 100 feet for the one up here. Yeah, ridge, whatever it's called, ridge. I don't know whether that's just they agreed to that or that's the rule, but
I can ask about it.
yeah, I think it's worth bringing up
Okay.
because it was interesting that it wasn't
All that wetland around, say they didn't do vernal pools, seems.
Seems kind of screwy. If you scroll up, you can just look at the photos. It should be just a few
Fishy's the word you shouldn't use.
pages up.
Existing.
Yeah,
vernal pools.
the next one. No, I'm sorry. Go to photo 9, I think. Yeah, just there's a whole lot of photos. I mean, it's all very nicely documented, but yeah, see that's a small one. And that's in the relatively small wetland. But if you scroll up to 1, 2, and 3, it's more obvious looking like pools. But I don't know that much about how you designate it. Yeah, but it sure looks like it could be one. The second one's even more substantial. I guess the trick is figuring out if they're really vernal, right?
Well,
They're-
here's the problem. Most of these pictures seem to be dated 23. So a lot of these could be vernal
Yeah,
pools.
but it was a really.
It should have dried up, but because we had one on the 5th wettest summer of all
Yeah,
time.
right,
Recorded time.
something like that. Yeah.
It's hard to say what they will be in
Yeah.
a couple of seasons,
Right.
or should be.
Yeah, but it would certainly slow them down if they had to wait till next year. I'm sure they'll scream about it, but seems like it's worth asking. Anyway, John Wallace thought it was
We need a phone call from a
curious.
species that's endangered. That's what we
Yeah,
need.
right.
Hey, I'm up here on Young Road. There's a bad news.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what you had. One last thing, yeah.
One thing.
Speaking of.
So I called, Department of Transportation, who said, never that never happened, never came from them.
The
The solar science.
Yeah,
And
that's New Hampshire DOT.
New Hampshire DOT.
Huh. Okay.
And they said, oddly enough, they said, call the prison. That's where all the signs come from. And I haven't called the prison yet. And then last week, I twice called Fish and Game. I thought maybe Fish and Game is where they came from.
Both could be right.
And
The prison
Fish and
makes-
Game is really interesting because, you know, they have all these options and it got down to about option A, which is a real person.
Yeah, right.
And the woman, the real person who was recording said, you know, most of the things that you would talk to me about are available on our website. So leave a message if you want to, and I'll call you back. But twice I called the no
Okay.
call back. I'll keep trying.
So do we know when they originally were requested? I mean, obviously.
No, I mean, what's driving me crazy is that Holly and I went to Concord to pick them up, and there was this big warehouse.
Huh.
And we met some guy there, and he said, you know, those are your signs, they come back. I don't know. But Peter, the former road agent, Peter Cook, said they need to come down completely and go into the town garage.
Well, I'm wondering if that's what happened to the one on Young Road. 'Cause, I mean, on Screwed Pond Road, because the sign, the pole that was on was knocked down and there was no sign.
Also, you think it could have gone to the town garage?
Yeah,
Well,
so unless somebody just swiped it.
Somebody should ask Aaron.
I did ask Erin, and she said she has no, that she said, we've looked everywhere, we don't have them.
Okay.
Well,
And-
when was that?
That was this spring,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying this just happened a
Yeah.
few weeks ago.
but the ones on Young Road, she said they looked for, and she goes, I have no idea. She said, we don't have them. And Mark Monroe did not say they had to come down completely.
No,
So,
Well, he's the current.
Why did was the road agent saying they had to come down?
because he said someone would steal them.
Were the poles removed? too, or
No,
just-
poles are right. Somebody
Yeah.
took
So that sounds more like that.
But some are on poles and we're a couple on sandwich
Because
boards.
they're set up to
No.
fold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Given that we do have, even after the money, 446,000, they can be bought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I wonder how much time we're gonna spend trying to chase down someone to help us.
Yeah. I didn't
Who-
know.
Can they be bought commercially, full size?
We can buy 18, 24, 30, or 36-inch diamond,
You should buy them.
but 18-inch diamond, engineering grade reflective, $34.
I hope they don't get stolen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do with it. Most we have to worry about, you know, then we gotta mount them. If the pole's gone too.
We would ask the road agent to help with them.
I know once I saw them tell somebody that you gotta give them everything. So we probably have to ask Mark Moreau and say, hey, would you at least meet us in the middle? We'll get the signs if you put the poles up, you know,
Yeah,
because his predecessor, I remember
No,
once, Steve Diamond asked for some signs.
yeah, I'm
He said,
They should be able to use theft resistant fasteners.
The poles are still there on Young Road. They're just nothing on them.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant, Jack. I mean, we all should have thought of that sooner.
Yeah.
well, I was with the group, we were buying 15-mile-an-hour signs and so I remembered it. We can get bigger, give it Young Road and where else were they?
Certain ponds.
Pond Road.
Palm Road, yeah.
Well, speaking of the sign, the issue we're gonna talk about. Target Street sign. And.
Yeah, well, let's
Should we wait for that?
wait on that.
I'd like the same
Yeah.
issue.
Good night, everybody. See
Steve,
you.
I hope you feel
Thanks,
better. It will go away.
Yes, it will.
Well, there's still one of the Screwed Pond ones, so we only need three actually. Unless it got stolen in the last week.
Aluminum, reflective material, pre-drilled holes, waterproof. We can do turtle with a baby, turtle by itself, turtle in a crosswalk.
And these ones don't have the folding option, right? They just saw
No.
the sign.
But for
Which, you know,
1 to 2, 24.
Well, if they wanted to take them down anyway, Right. Well, I guess the new guy isn't saying that. What's his
Yeah.
name? Mark Moreau.
Right.
Yeah.
They're $45 for a 24 diamond.
How would you be going to try Aaron again and see if they one turned up when they did their last
I can
mowing
do
here?
that, yeah.
Scoot on, because I'm just thinking if we could save $34 if they just have it sitting in a warehouse somewhere. Good to know.
Yeah, if there's anyone who's gonna help us, or I'll probably.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I'm pretty sure it seemed to happen right around the time of the mowing. Just figuring that maybe they just happened to knock the pole down. They said, well, I might as well put the sign.
Yeah, because there's
Decided to walk off with it.
the town, one of the signs for, they got the big right turn as you're coming down the hill on Pond Hill, and a couple of seasons ago, somebody hit it, punched the grate out.
Yeah,
The town's fix, put it in the back of the dump truck and drive away, and he's never
Yeah.
replaced it.
yeah.
Hey, there's other signs that are telling you to go right.
On a related note, I did see somebody from the, well, I walk up and down to Pond Road a lot, and one day I saw a guy, seems private individual, stopped and seemed to be removing a turtle from the road. Presumably one that was trying to get across the road, so people, I know people do stop to help the turtles. But then I saw another guy who looked to be a town employee or had a bunch of road stuff in the back of his truck, and he stopped, and I thought he was going to a turtle, but I think he was pulling up some of the pavement that had come apart. He just wanted a sample to show what's happening to it, but
Maybe you gotta bring back a trophy to say, we need to send a patch crew out.
yeah, probably. I mean, I know one of the public works folks lives on the road, so. Anyway, so why don't we get back to our new business? It's been a new old business, but which it's probably a couple of different incidents, but one of the most pressing is when Gary.
Yeah, I got a email from a guy, his name is Chris Fennerty, and he's a butter to the Tamposi easement. She loves walking in, but he just said that one of the share concerns, but his concern that he shared with me, what he called it, is that he's hearing a lot of target practice going on down on the Tamposi easement. And he asked me, he said he called the cops, and the cops told him there's absolutely nothing they could do about it. And so I was busy doing some other monitoring stuff, reports, so I didn't really get back there right away, but I reached out to John Walls, our resident expert, and he sent me the most relevant document was in the Trails booklet, Appendix A, public use of town-owned conservation lands. I pass this around so everybody can see it, but it clearly says that on these town-owned lands that target shooting is prohibited. So it's a written
And it is
document.
posted on the, if anybody happens to look on the kiosks.
So it sounds like
So like-
a conversation with Chief Joy is necessary.
Well, I think, yeah, at this point, two things, but John also sent but he actually had a document that he made by hand, that something post up that said no target practice allowed. I sent it on to Chris, telling him we're going to discuss it, but I will get something about it. You might want to just put this up yourself, and we'll discuss getting some perhaps good signs.
They have
We
that on
have
that
built.
list. Or-
Well, mine was, my sign is road traffic sign, when I am
You
shooting.
could get custom
So
signs.
no target.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid custom.
Well, but that's gotta be.
There is a no shooting beyond this point sign. For some reason.
Because
Well, the other one said no shooting at
hunting
steel
is
targets.
allowed.
And I don't wanna, if you put no shooting at steel targets,
you
they'll go, oh, I'm shooting trees.
Now do tree, yeah. I gotta work. I should have printed out John's document, and maybe that's will be good enough. We can just laminate some. I don't know.
Most of the signs are danger shooting range. Yeah, that's what we're trying to say, we don't want it.
Laminated
I guess the
signs
point is,
don't
yeah, it'd be nice
last
to have,
very
we should
long.
have some of these signs, in the file
Yeah.
cabinet back there, so when we
Yeah.
When we have a need for it, we can run out
We
and do
should
it.
probably, is there a kiosk for Tamposi?
Yeah, but it's not where.
This is,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not exactly
Quite
what
a
this
ways.
is. type of thing.
Oh,
they-
okay.
I mean, I'm assuming they come in on
Right,
Carriage
right.
Road.
But
Well, that's what John said.
Yeah, but like the no target shooting sign that's on the west side off of Tibbetts Road, it's got holes in it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
No, and actually the one on 125, I was there in the year. And somebody had actually scrawled a little nasty note saying, "You can't prohibit me using my guns wherever I want." You know, something.
Yeah.
And what I was gonna say is you're gonna run into people who are not gonna care about. the
He's on-
sign.
Well, yeah,
It's kind of
course.
Snell
But
Road,
they
and
should
then
be able
Snell
to
Road
get
is.
enforcement on that.
Well,
No?
you know, they have to catch them in the act, right? They're not gonna
Sure.
sit there with
Snow
a
is off-
acoustic.
Is it snow up one?
I've seen it, but I
His
don't know where.
address says Lee. His address was 58 Snell Road.
Yeah.
in
Wait,
Lee.
that's not.
That's not- that's not it.
Imposing.
Oh, wait a second,
It's-
my property butts conservation land on Holly Lane.
Yeah, there is a Snell Road in Lee.
Holly Lane, okay, it's a Holly Lane. I'm
Well,
sorry, I
but
got
maybe
that
he
wrong.
has a second.
He must have a something
property
else.
or something. Yeah, Snell.
Snell comes off of
Snell's-
Newtown Plains Road.
Snell is.
He's the-
What's in the Holly Lane?
These two.
And Holly Lane's off Route 4, right? Isn't Holly Lane on?
Yeah.
Route 4? Yeah.
But it does kind of a butt.
Holly Lane, Berry.
But the other trick is you gotta find out if they're
It's on
actually
Route
on
4.
Temposi versus a rebutting property. You know, the problem there on Carriage Run, we were down there, I walked on the latest
Well, listen,
monitoring. It's, you know, one side of the road is Temposi, the other side is private.
but isn't that close to where they were finding the lead from the other, so I'm
Yeah.
wondering if. maybe-
Yeah. John didn't mention that at all.
That's-
He must have told me it was the old one.
That's where Holly Lane is. and,
Yeah.
See that is.
Yeah.
It was just down from Lee, essentially.
Well,
Going north.
it's- yeah, but it is right along there.
But that's where the old place was, right? Where they used to target you.
Yeah, I don't remember the property, but yeah, I remember we talked about it before.
That's not. No, it might be,
Yeah, no,
actually,
Holly Lane is.
Holly Lane is, okay.
In fact,
It's right on the edge
there's a
of it.
development there. We,
So here's Holly Lane
It's just this side of Yellow Dog's Barn.
here.
Yeah.
Um,
Snell is on the other side. It's.
yeah,
off
this
Newtown.
got nothing to do with Snell, it just happens to be
This is way down.
the residents.
Well, anyway, I think that I do,
This is Holly Lane,
Chief
the full
Troy,
road.
Yeah.
You guys had this concern, so.
Well, and they're planning to
Enjoy this,
develop a big chunk of
This
land.
document that basically defines the fact that, no target.
Well,
Did
there
he
must
give
be
you the
from-
official designation of the document?
It's gotta be from the ordinance, I would think.
That's my problem with that is I don't know.
Well, it'd be nice if it actually came from a numbered ordinance that. Because it being in John's book, it doesn't constitute.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he must have got it from.
Oh, yeah, I'm just looking to see if there is something.
He's sure that it's on Tamposi? Is he sure that
Well,
the shootings?
Unless he witnessed it, unless there's
Because
shells.
I'm thinking it's probably that other lot. It
Well, that's the thing, it could be.
He's close enough because Tamposi is right here.
He says that he
Yeah,
walks
but
in posting a
the-
lot. and
Again,
loves
the
the
cops
place.
are not gonna care if it's on private
Right,
property.
but it could be
They're
on,
not gonna-
the shooting could be on, I'm wondering.
He said it's on the Tamposi.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he knows.
Yes.
Well, I know it is.
He knows
All
what's
the
on
user
it.
town.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, obviously, people do all sorts of things.
We should probably ask Connor to look up, if there's a regulation on this, he should be able to
Yeah.
find it.
Good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I have a copy of the ordinances, but might take a while to find it.
Yeah, I think he knows this stuff
Yeah.
pretty well.
You want,
Okay, I'll ask Connor.
you
I'm
want to
searching right now on the town website.
I'll ask him to report back.
Yeah. And then the second question is how do we enforce it, or is it enforceable?
Well, if it is part of an ordinance, then we can certainly let
Yeah.
the chief, because this guy, Kennedy said he called the cops and cops said, well, we don't have any right to.
Yeah, I gotta believe it's
Conservation
conservation,
property and-
which is a law, right?
I
it's a
mean, they
legal
should have,
easement.
they should at least be willing to look if it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
if we can show them that there's a town ordinance and
Yeah.
they have a report, they should look into it.
Yeah. Let's find, see if we can find the right ordinance and.
Yeah.
Public servants. you know.
On a related note, I was actually in my backyard, but I could tell from where the sound was coming from that somebody was having a great old time blasting off multiple rounds. It appeared to be from across the marsh near our property, which is the Turtle Brook Preserve, Schultz land. And I actually know a guy, I ran into him one day on the trail, who was going on about how he loved to go out hunting there. And I think he even has I found a stand up in a tree. And he said he had a trail cam, he was watching for deer. So anyway, I'm kind of putting all that together and thinking he's probably the one shooting, but that's salt land, right? I believe it's on our list. So maybe we should let Salt know, because I assume we can't, our rule about.
Our rule doesn't apply to them.
Right.
We don't know what their rules may be, but,
But I can't imagine they want target practice. And this guy literally was shooting off 25 rounds at a time. I mean, it was not,
target practice
you know,
is obnoxious.
yeah. well, but not on somebody else's
No,
land.
right.
I mean, yeah, if it's your backyard, sure, people do, but if it really is on.
So what easement was it on? Schultz.
Yeah.
Schultz.
Well, it's really it's Selk's land now, I guess. I think they own it. It's the Turtle Brook Preserve, it's.
And Schultz,
and
Turtle Brook
Schultz
Preserve.
But, yeah. Donated by the Schultzes, but anyway, on Brewster Road.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just saying, it's not the first time or the last time
No.
we're gonna deal with this, so.
I haven't walked out there, had a really nice walk. That's
Yeah, and it's the Barrington Trail also. So, it extends on either end of that property. Yeah. Okay, well, I guess that's enough.
You already mentioned that to the, Bill,
Dwayne.
Dr. Dwayne and me.
Could if you, because it's where, they obviously, I don't know if.
It'd be
somebody's-
interesting to know what they do about,
Yeah, they must.
trying to enforce any of
Yeah,
this stuff.
what do they do?
Signage or anything they do.
Actually, I could probably. He wanted to talk with me about
Okay,
another
well,
issue anyway.
Okay, why don't you do it?
So I'll do that one, and I know where it was.
Self doesn't have any search function.
There's nothing you don't know.
They haven't produced a map yet of the trails. It's basically a loop, but it's off of the loop. So, yeah. Do that. Okay, so that's target practice. And I was gonna ask Ken, but he may not know. We were wondering about the wetland buffer project. I thought there was a work session or meeting coming up next week, but I don't know if you can pull up the latest.
Latest from Vanessa Price, I can't. Here it is.
Latest, I don't think it talks about, it, but maybe it's.
I don't see any for another subcommittee, as those comments should be addressed in the documentation. It's in this document. So there's this issue of the affidavit. So basically that was because we don't feel that the town has the resources to send people out to inspect on a regular basis, all things that might be required. So they could issue an affidavit, but Mark's comment was, well, people just ignore that stuff all the time, which may be true. But the fact of the matter is, we still don't have the resources, so it may be better than nothing.
But I thought there was previously scheduled, maybe it got canceled or whatever. Can you go back to previous? I don't know, it might have been a
Is it
couple
all
weeks
from
ago.
Vanessa?
Yeah, it would have, I thought it, or at least should be in on it. But it may be there's just nothing new until that happens.
Any idea how far back you want to go?
No, I mean, it would have been in the last month, but I don't.
Talks about a conflict.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's the October 17th. That's the board meeting. I thought there was some other date. There was so much back and forth. And,
Yeah.
You know, they said, oh, no, we're not gonna after all. So,
Yeah,
so-
right, so.
so anyway.
Yeah,
I
I don't think we know what's going on. at the
Yeah.
moment in terms
Well,
of
we'll do that.
additional meetings.
Hopefully we'll know more in a few weeks. The Dudzik land, I did produce the letter that we talked about, and got it into, Dwayne itself.
Is the guy down in his neighborhood?
Swing.
Yeah, remember if you were here when the Swains Lake
All right, that guy, yeah.
Water District
Yeah, the
guy
water
was
district,
here. The deal is, if you're wondering, CELT is handling the, getting together some money to be able to buy this land. And so they're doing that on behalf of the Swains Lake Group. And so they've, approached the, Drinking Water and Groundwater, Trust Fund, which is like a big pot of money at DES for these sort of things. And that's the same one that we did for Goodwill. We did the expansion.
Mhm.
That Goodwill, and so Dwayne submitted that. It only pays for half of whatever the budget is, which is what we found as well. But it's a significant chunk of money, 100 to 150,000. So anyway, I thought it was certainly worth getting a letter in. Also, the select board chair co-signed it. So it came from both of us, I guess.
But the fact that this drinking water group kind of, by giving us money, officially recognized the Goodwill property is important to preserving drinking water, is that linked to our young
Young
road
Road.
thing?
Yeah, I think
I
it
mean,
should.
it's almost
That's
like-
certainly what I would argue with the.
Yeah. I'm gonna use
planning board.
the Miracle on 34th Street thing here. If one branch of the government says that, yeah, this land here is important for water, then the other land next to it must be too.
Mhm.
And then if the post office delivers letters, then he must be Santa Claus. I'm using that reasoning, but
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's something that, I don't know if it made it into our letter that we submitted to the planning board, but, certainly the regional impact issue, it plays on that. And for that matter, the city of Portsmouth, actually, John Wallace also mentioned maybe we should go to the city of Portsmouth and say, hey, did you know some people are mucking around with your watershed there? I mean, not that they would necessarily get involved, but at least they have something to say about it.
I guess a letter would help, maybe.
I mean, well,
Maybe too late for that.
yeah,
I think what it comes down to still is a matter of regulations, and until Barrington becomes serious about putting regulations in place, our hands are tied in the end. They can do what is legal.
yeah.
But if another government body came forth, at least since we were looking before at, it could delay things or slow things
Well,
up.
so
Could a letter from,
Brian, Pat's brother, did call the state up about the water quality issues there, and he
That's
got
true.
nowhere.
Yeah,
maybe the people that are actually gonna drink the water may get more interesting.
yeah. I mean, I doubt that we'll go to court over it, but
No,
but it's at
It's
least
right now, we're looking for Hail Marys and things just to slow things down.
Yeah. I actually know some people in the city of Portsmouth since I used to be a resident 15 years ago. So I'd be willing to look into it.
I mean, Rochester bought land around Round Pond and their reservoir area, because I hiked it with John and on easement water.
Well, and that, I think same with the
I mean,
city of Portsmouth.
Yeah, these cities.
Yeah.
Want to protect their water
Oh, yeah.
supplies. I don't want them to think we're shaking them down to buy the land.
Yeah.
But
Although actually that was the other suggestion that the Dudzik property, turns out very little of it is actually, really in the Swains watershed, I guess. it's obviously groundwater is different. But, you know, it's not as obvious an argument.
Yeah, because the land adjacent to the lake, they already got that. That's where their wells are.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. I mean, you still want to protect more of the area around it.
Like, so we've totally mixed Dudzik and Young.
Yeah, what I was trying to get at, as far as the Dudzik is, I had a conversation with Dwayne Hyde at Selt, and he said that, as we, I guess, was suggested by, I can't remember his name now, our guest from the water district,
Mr. Meyer.
yeah, Mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Ford, even though they're the responsible party on the Superfund site, they.
Yeah, they sent them back a flip answer about, we have no
Yeah.
interest in owning land.
Yeah, and evidently Dwayne got the same response, or that you'd think they would have a little more sensitivity, but I guess they don't have to, so.
Did Ford buy the original land?
Did what?
Did Ford buy the
I
original
don't
land?
think so. I think they just had a legal obligation, because it was their stuff.
Well, I know, but you know,
That land was given to the water district,
okay.
or no,
Yeah.
it wasn't given. I think it was given at a good rate.
Yeah,
I think,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure Ford bought it. I don't know if the water district came up with the money, but
yeah.
They would ask before they ever pumped water, where did the water district get any money? So it was Ford's.
Well, yeah, originally,
I'm probably using.
but that was obviously
Logic.
more on a direct, you know, as a response mitigation for the fact
Yeah.
that their groundwater.
Well, the one question I didn't ask is, you know, I guess, I mean, I knew they have a concern about what goes on that land, but they are groundwater wells.
Yeah.
So really, I mean, unless you're gonna do something really weird on the Dudzik lots, how can you really threaten the groundwater?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, groundwater gradients are not necessarily the same as surface water.
Yeah.
I've just known that from other.
I guess I'm assuming that it's gonna be a
Locations.
residential lakeside community, but yeah, if someone goes in there and does something stupid,
Yeah,
it'd be a shame that, the second Superfund site wipes out the water supply for the first one.
yeah, yeah, you don't want that, or any other use that doesn't protect it. Anyway, where Dwayne was going is that they're gonna need some more money if they're gonna buy this land. And I said, well, we're kind of tight right now, but we probably can come up with some, probably not six figures. So anyway, I'm just mentioning that he's gonna be coming back to us. You know, he didn't have a figure either.
But he didn't.
Well, they did this reappraisal and he gave a figure, it's 335,000
For the top.
for the total. So they might get 170 or so from the drinking water fund. Obviously, we're not gonna be able to cover the rest. But,
Well, I would,
some
I
portion,
hope they wouldn't want us to cover the whole.
yeah, but maybe half of it. You know, assuming we get all this other crap resolved, we might have 50, 70 grand. Unless we have another piece of land we wanna get, like more.
Right, but I mean, we might want to put together a list so that when people start saying how much money we have, we can say, okay, here's what, you know, we currently are thinking we need to use these funds for
Right,
as soon as we're actually able to, and
yeah,
it's gonna be substantial.
yeah, yeah. Certainly. And the other point on that is, you know, it's declining returns. I mean, I don't know what, over, you know, many years, how, land use change, but
Yeah, I don't have enough data to like
yeah.
show a graph.
General, I mean, Ken certainly have
It's the
thought
climate.
that it's been declining.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, there've been a few big projects like this one.
I wonder if we went to them and said, do you have a way of going into the computer and figuring out like every year, how many lots went in, how many lots went out? Cause,
Yeah. Or how much money is going.
Yeah, right,
I mean,
I would
that's
think.
more likely.
yeah, money, I guess, from a treasure standpoint,
Yeah.
but obviously, if we knew that the level, the amount of acreage was remaining the same because people were putting it in to lower their tax bill,
Mhm.
that in a way is planting a crop for us, because eventually someday someone's gonna wanna put a house on it. You get the money. We almost have to look like, you know, when someone puts in for current use, then it's planting a future crop for us.
Yeah, yeah.
Provided the law doesn't change or a portion of it.
Yeah, but I think the general argument is that, the town's getting pretty built out. I mean, there's obviously some remaining land available, but, an awful lot of it's getting gobbled up.
I
So there's,
suspect that most of the land can be under current use isn't. So I don't think there's going to be much more that's put.
no, that's unlikely, and how much more is gonna be taken out of current use is the real issue. Anyway, I mean, so, to be revisited, but,
Well, that's a real concern.
yeah.
There's
Oh,
right.
oh, yeah, no, and Ken was thinking about, I think John Wallace before him was thinking about, to sustain ourselves in
How
the
are we
future.
going to be funded?
We're gonna have to come up with other sources, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, there's an item on that, the ACC gathering on,
Something, I think it's the latter.
yeah, it was about funding. It was,
Some town got some funding.
yeah, getting a bond through the town. So, we're not quite there yet, but the idea is that someday we may have to do that.
But not like I speak for the Trails Committee, but there's only so much more we probably want to add trails wise, because there's only so much we can maintain.
Yeah,
And, how many hiking areas do you need in
Yeah.
the town of, we'll say in the near future, we reach 10,000.
yeah.
It's,
But there's also the idea that you want to have more.
oh yeah, but then there's this conserved land, like this case of Dudzik for water quality. There's other reasons. I'm just saying that the Trails Committee, I mean, I'm like, we don't get all the projects done each year we want to do for our current trails.
Yeah,
And now we gotta go back out and cut a new one on Raisin Hill Farm because they turned it into pasture on us. And we gotta fix Newhall because they
Yeah.
logged it.
right.
And then we gotta do something on the lower Goodwood. So we got enough projects.
Yeah,
About buying.
well, we're not talking capital improvements yet, but yeah, it's a perennial issue. I guess so, if that's enough on Dudzik related issues. Let's talk about monitoring.
Yeah, and the last, I do have some issues I want to talk about, with respect to monitoring, but in terms of the actual walks. In the last month or so, we completed, Lakeview Estates, Midlands Landing, Hall, Olson, La Roca. And we're gonna do Riverside, we were gonna do River's Edge today, but, Dan couldn't do it till Sunday, so we're gonna do it Sunday
Oh,
afternoon.
it's Sunday?
Sunday at noon.
Not Saturday?
Oh, you said Saturday.
Actually, I said, should be Saturday, yeah, okay, Saturday, right, Saturday. So we'll complete that, and I guess that's a tough one. He said it's a very difficult one.
It's probably the trails,
These are the new trails, or very few trails, so. That'd be hard.
bushwhack.
Then at that point, I'm taking a break and I'm going on a cruise, won't be back till November 5th. And then we got just a few more walks. That'll start up on, let's see here. 11/9. I'll do 11/16 at Village Place. See what Warren Braden Hill's already been done. And then the Whitney easement will be the last walk of the year, will be in December 2nd. So anyway, we're walking through and getting the reports filed, but the one I want to talk about is one that's confusing to me and it's confusing to Dan. And I'll just pass some of the stuff around. This was Dan's last report, and this is basically this river, this Lakeview Estates. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties on the north end of Depot Lake, and it was a development called Lakeview Estates. And done back, I don't know exactly when it was done, 20 years ago. And so there's 5 property owners, so I actually had to call all 5 to, it's a pain in the neck. As Dan says, it's a pain in the neck, but there's a 150 foot barrier. Show you the easement, pass the easement around.
Sounds like John Wallace's, do you remember that?
Well, I'll talk about that in a minute because John Wallace scared the hell out of these people, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this has been a kind of a mess, I think, for a long time, but I so I've walked this, I've talked to all the owners, I've talked to all of them, I've walked it. And, I've read the easement is written very, very tightly, so that the first 150 feet basically says no cutting except dead trees, no cutting except dead trees. Second 150 feet back further, you can do, cutting once every 10 years with the approval of the Conservation Commission's final plan. Cut. There have been, there's a easement that goes down the property that goes down to a beach. That easement is, I don't think that easement right there is part of the conservation easement, because conservation easement specifically mentions just those 5 parcels. And this 50-foot strip was not part of that, those 5 parcels. In any event, Mr. Scarponi is an 80-year-old guy, over 80. So he took me through his property, and he basically said that John Wallace terrified him and told him that he couldn't do anything with his property. And so the property is very difficult to walk, very rough, very rocky, very slippery. And so Mr. Scarponi and his wife were essentially prevented from even walking down to on their own property, down to the edge of the lake. All he wants to do is be able to walk down to his property, the edge of the lake, have a glass of wine, sit down on a chair and look at the lake. And now the other people, his neighbors here, actually have grassy trails down to the beach area. Those are trails, and they had to be open at some point in time. I don't know when, but
This
technically that
all
would be
came
allowed.
up before.
I'm sure it has. So, okay, so I'm sympathetic with, especially with Mr. Scarponi, because I think he should have the right to be able to put a small wood chip path in the forest, down to the forest, down to where he can walk down to the edge of the lake and sit down and have a glass of wine. But like, I hope, and he was told, you can't do any of that. You can't touch it.
Who put together the conservation?
Every one of these easements are written specifically.
Yeah, they can all be.
And everyone's a little bit different. But a lot of them have common language, and they often they'll have common language. It's interesting because some will have the very restrictive language, but then at the same time, there'll be a forestry plan,
Right.
which gives them the right to go and just rip the place to spreads, okay?
Well,
So to cut trees. And so this doesn't have a forestry
Right,
plan.
right.
This did have a forestry study done where a forester recommended that they be able to have what's called a filtered view of the lake, so that they could do some trimming of trees and they have a filtered view. They didn't really give that right. It's here.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
when you're getting into what kind of cuts you can do, that hopefully they were fairly specific, but as far as just accessing your property and.
So
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you read the easement, is the problem 2 different interpretations of what the easement allows? Is that what you?
Well, it's pretty,
I mean, when you read it, do you feel like the path is?
here it says, number one, I mean, you do the 300-foot barrier, 150 feet, basically says no cutting permitted except dead trees. And then the second one is you can cut trees based on a plan that you give the Conservation Commission every 10 years. Subsequent cuts can with reasonable forest management practices exercise.
To put a path in, do they need to cut trees?
Well, it says, listen, it says, no removal, filling, or other disturbances of surface or subsurface soils or vegetation. Any changes to topography, surface, or subsurface water systems, wetlands, or natural habitats shall be made to this easement
Yeah,
property.
does it include a pathway?
There shall be no introduction,
Which is weird.
there shall be no introduction, addition, movement, excavation, or removal of rocks, minerals, gravel, sand, topsoil.
That's standard.
Right, that is standard.
That's
More
standard.
restrictive than the shoreline water.
That's standard stuff.
Yeah.
But even let you have a path to you can't clear all the trees by the lake, but they
Right.
let you get access to it.
Right.
So I wanted to
create trails all the time. It's obviously part of the
So I wanted to have this discussion with the commission so that I could get it sounds to me where there's a reasonable factor here that we need to address this a little bit. And the man should be able to, put a wood chip path down so he's not gonna fall down or, hurt himself going down to his lake so he can look at the lake. And I just don't see, and he was told he specifically could not do that
From
from John.
Well, the way that reads, I mean, and probably you're saying it's a rocky, tough hike, which means it probably means grading before you put wood chips down.
No, I don't think you have to do that. I think you can just, but it's not that big a rock, sort of, but there's lots of small slippery rocks. And you could put a small wood chip path down there. With anything. And the same thing, actually the same thing with one of the other owners has. He also has a very rough stony path going down, and he was putting gravel down, and Dan told him, no, you can't put gravel down, period. But I guess I'd like to be able to tell them, if you guys want to put down a wood chip path, so you get down and look at the lake. I don't think that's anything for the conservation commission is going to stop you from doing.
Right, well, I guess I'd go even further than that. I would say, if you need to clear some saplings, I mean, they shouldn't be taking out trees perhaps based on what that says. But if you have new growth, I mean, you're always gonna have new growth.
Yeah, and he was told, you couldn't touch any of this stuff. Of course, I tell everybody.
Was he the original signer of this easement?
He was, well, no, that was the developer, developer.
David Development.
David
LLC.
LLC. I think it's the guy that owns,
So they basically put in an easement that really denied them people some basics,
Yeah,
rights you'd want to have if you own land.
and you own land on a lake, on
Yeah.
Depot Lake. I mean, they restricted this.
I mean, certainly the idea is to limit building.
There's
beaches.
usually allowances for cutting cordwood, I mean.
Well, that's what it does allow.
It does allow cutting cordwood?
Well, it said it within,
Within trees, I mean.
well, it said what, the first 300
one
feet,
area,
no.
yeah.
But the other area, I think it said you had to go to the town. It's one thing, I can see going to the town if you're gonna,
Yeah.
clear or make a glen or something,
Right.
but going out and,
Well,
Okay.
it just says, they can cut. It says, within the second 150 feet. From Depot Lake, the grantor and the successor shall be restricted to selective cutting of trees to the extent. And in a manner permitted by the Conservation Commission.
So they could submit a trail plan.
So they could submit that to us, and we say, okay, so I'm gonna tell them, submit a trail plan and, maybe a selective, brush cutting if you need to get it for the trail.
Selective cut is trees.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not brush.
Yeah.
That is trees.
Well, I hate brush myself, so I've never seen any brush.
his plan says, here's the path. I'm gonna remove brush and saplings,
Right.
and I'm gonna put down a natural material wood chips, and
Yeah.
I guess the question is, that'll give him, I guess, some cover. I don't know if it's illegal for us to say, okay, but
Well,
the easement says you're gonna come to us.
Right.
It's on our discretion.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, I'm gonna have to tell all these folks that they need to submit a trail plan, selective, full of some small shrubs and brush
Yeah.
and.
What do you do with the guy with the gravel? Because I know,
Yeah, well, I've stopped him.
I know, but are we gonna make him, if he comes with us with a plan, he's probably not gonna wanna say, I'm gonna pick up all the gravel.
It's hardly anything, which I thought that, and I said, this field.
Okay.
I know when this came up before, the issue was and it might be the people that already built the gravel trail, I don't know. But it was somebody there and their complaint was, we want to have our grandchildren walk down to the lake and not get ticks. That was the big, I remember
Well,
that distinctly.
That's
They
the-
wanted a path so the ticks.
No, that's too far.
I mean, you want to
Ticks
get
are-
6 foot wide trail.
First of all, that won't work.
Right, but that was what they said. That's what I'm saying.
Majority of property has just really nasty. Pricker bushes and just nasty
Yeah.
stuff to walk through. I know it's really not fun to walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And to me, that's not even good. The way this thing is written, that's not good conservation practice in my mind, in terms of maintaining the property. I don't like brush, so I hate brush, so.
Yeah.
I'm a firefighter, so.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so, that's about all I have on that issue.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Well,
Yeah,
as long as you're there planning, we'll go from
yeah, well, there's always little subtleties.
there. Yeah, sure is, sure is.
I think that's all for, there's nothing new on the town forest.
No,
Hasn't been a meeting.
this has been, for me, for obvious reasons, it has been a lost month. I will get in touch with AJ. Fine. I asked Brian if he knew anything about meetings, and he said they don't really have any assignments from Connor. So there's probably no purpose to a meeting, but I will let AJ know that we do have a request to, to do a walkthrough of those lots and get the, whatever story they may be. That the people in the lands committee know about what the people who own those properties are thinking, because Brian definitely has some thoughts about what's going on there.
And just on the Young Road, I mean, do you feel like you have enough? I mean, it's not like it's a formal hearing or anything. Not gonna.
I'll
ask.
bring up the vernal pools, if there's anything else that. And the public comment period is over on that, so this is, it'll be interesting to see what we're actually allowed to say.
Yeah, well, maybe you do it under the table or whatever, grab the chair.
Right,
Have you
well,
guys looked into this? I don't know, but anyway, obviously you're there to represent us,
Right.
so, yeah. Okay. I think that's all we have for business. Anything else from Trails Committee?
Like I mentioned before we started, the bear event's going good. And we've got someone from the state coming to look at it. We're really on the hike.
When is that happening?
Saturday, the 21st at 9:30, BYA ball fields for the trail for the Barrington Trail. We're gonna teach people how not to get lost, water, food, shelter. Try to do some of the things that were in the book. And obviously we're having fun with it.
Great.
You're gonna be going out on the trail?
Me, actually, no, it's other people are. I'm sort of kicking the event off
Yeah,
and then finishing.
but I mean, that's the idea.
Yeah, we're hiking to 3 different stations out on the Barrington Trail, coming back the Loop Trail. It's, if you're looking for miles, it's not gonna be a lot, but if you're looking to learn something.
Well, it's always good to let people know it exists. I'm sure it's a little off the beaten path or.
Yeah,
I mean, I've only been there once or twice.
I do the upper half of Barrington Trail because I walk along the river.
Well, yeah, of course.
But I'm beginning to appreciate the southern end now.
Yeah. Someday I hope to.
Finish your trail trekking, right?
Well, that too, but no, I was gonna say, I haven't talked to the landowners yet, but I have this vision of extending the Barrington Trail actually out to Spook Pond Road the other way. Just has to go through our land, so I have to talk to my co-owners. I was hoping to talk to Ken, but leave early. Should talk to him first. Anyway, we were talking about, connecting up trails. There's a potential of connecting the Caliph lands, or Caliph East to the Barrington Trail. So I found it intriguing anyway. So.
Well, I know when the Barrington Trail went in, the original concept is you could hike from one end of town to the other.
Yeah. Well, this would go a little further along that way. I mean, it would add probably 3 more miles to it. More. You want to wade across the river, you can do another couple miles.
Well, we were talking the trails the other night about this thing that came down from Rochester about,
Right.
connecting up and
Right.
some research was done as far as the rail, but I mean, there's a gate and a driveway on some of it. up
Yeah,
there.
it's a mess.
It's a mess. And I said, from a trails committee standpoint, I said, do we want to walk into a situation where we're gonna have to find money and people willing to give up land they already own? I said, usually the only time these things work is when you do it, but someone convinces the railroad to give it up, and it's one entity you have to deal with.
Yeah.
You're gonna be dealing with all kinds of citizens of Barrington.
Or even if it was just the caliphs, I mean, I think one of the caliphs owns that first stretch.
Yeah, and that's walkable. I mean, the snowmobilers use it.
Right. Yeah.
But that only gets you up to about Fast Food Pond Road.
Yeah.
It's a long way to Rochester still.
Yeah, definitely. And you gotta cross the river. I was meaning to go over there someday and just see what, I assume there's some old abutment there, but it's off of some. It's, I guess, in Rochester, actually. But, I mean, obviously the train had to find its way across the river
Right.
at some point. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, doesn't mean it's not
Okay.
easy to make use of that now.
No, not at all. Okay, I think that's all the reports and stuff.
I had actually one thing about the Isinglass River report. I'm
Okay.
not a member of the committee anymore, but I was contacted by a company from Shasta, California, who'd been hired by New Hampshire Department of Environmental Quality to do stream flow testing for two rivers in New Hampshire. One is the Isinglass, the other is the I want to say
Ashway lot.
Ashway lot.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, so they wanted to take, samples, crew, a couple of them, off of their canoes and water flow meters and everything. So I took them above the falls, Rock Falls, and below Rock Falls. Spent a little time with them. It was interesting that they took, I had to tell them quite clearly, they were here to test low flow. I said, this is not the low flow here, that you cannot use this as low flow. This is, like mid flow, and then maybe it's work maybe higher. So I said, you're gonna have to come back next year. You guys just everybody for time.
No, I got to
Did
see
you
Rock
read from
Falls.
weather report in New England before you arrived there? So,
But this was to kind of get a sense of what the.
yeah, it's good, and they were in the, they're in touch with the Isinglass River local authority group, and they have fed them some information about the Round Pond project, and they're talking to these engineers, talking to the city of Manchester.
Is that moving on?
I don't know.
I used to have a friend who lived on the road, but
I don't know, but I did get a contact for the guy to talk to at the city of Rochester, somebody. Update on what's going on there.
If you share that contact with me.
I'll do that. Okay, I'll get that. Yeah. Just to see what's happening. Anyway, that's all.
All right, and sightings?
I have a question about
Yeah.
non-sites.
Yeah.
Does anyone know when the bats disappear? Because
Bats?
they seem to be gone.
Yeah. I put a bat house up years ago, nothing.
I mean,
We have
it's
bats.
been a real problem.
Yeah,
years.
we have bats that live under our eaves in the house, and they're very regular. We have at least 4 or 5. They usually appear around April. It's pretty early. But they seem to be gone, and I don't know when their migration is or where they go or what they do. They're not there in the winter. I do know.
That white nose disease is spreading. still.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know. I know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that much about that ecology, but if they actually migrate or they just go into caves or something.
I understand there's some of each, and, how do you know? Guess if they don't get white nose disease, they're not staying in the cave.
They don't hang around New Hampshire though.
A lot of them do.
Yeah.
They get subterranean enough, it's
Right.
it's warm enough to sustain them.
But I don't know the types. There are a couple of types here.
Yeah.
I just don't know. How close to you get.
Yeah. I certainly see them summertime.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to see any out there.
Yeah, get those mosquitoes, fellas.
Yeah, get a lot.
It's a good time around our yard. Like I said, I don't.
In terms of sightings, he saw a bear tonight.
Yes.
I saw a fisher cat.
Oh,
Plus last week.
There was a bear over there. So the surveyors saw it.
yeah, we had I believe it was a red-shouldered hawk It's the one we heard when we were out at Cable,
Okay.
actually, but I think they've been hanging out around our neighborhood more, at least I'm noticing them more. And it was actually perched right up above our chicken coop, so I think it was casing the joint.
Wait,
So we're gonna keep our chickens in for a while. I don't know whether they take a chicken. They're not as big as a red tail, but they're pretty big. So,
I see a little hot car on the side of the house, someone waiting for somebody. So,
yeah. No, they-
Get away from
they
it.
love to have chicken. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so anything else? Okay, motion to adjourn? Okay.
Thanks.